Job. The Arizona Cardinals did not do their job. They blow their chance at the NFC West, and they're taking on the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC playoff wild card round. Let's get into this brutal loss to the Seattle Seahawks. It's Bo Brock. It's Alex Clancy. This is your Locked On Cardinals post-game reaction show.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Apologies on that. The things shifting around here as far as the Los Angeles Rams and the Dallas Cowboys go and the NFC playoff standings are concerned. It's the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Arizona Cardinals in the first round of the playoffs. And, the biggest thing here as far as the Cardinals game goes, they could have been the NFC West champions. They just take care of business against a 6-10 Seattle Seahawks team. And we're not even talking about this. The Arizona Cardinals are hosting a playoff game. That's not the case. They have to go on the road. They did have success at SoFi Stadium, but let's talk about where they were unsuccessful today. Bo Brock, Alex Clancy is Locked On Cardinals, and it's your post-game reaction show. Alex, what's going on, man? What do you, things were going so well to start the second half, and then, a couple stagnant possessions by the offense, and next thing you know, Russell Wilson and crew were winning 38-30.
You can't mail in a half of football and expect to win. This is why I was up in arms in the first half, because people are going to remember the second half. They're going to remember San Francisco coming back and probably not, 9 times out of 10, they don't win that game when they're down 17-0, but that's exactly what happened. Kyler Murray got sacked 5 times. Sure. Okay. The offense was kicking field goals instead of scoring touchdowns. They were first and goal inside the 5, scoring a touchdown, marching in to score a touchdown with a pretty good drive. And they got, the catalyst was a 3rd and 18 draw to James Conner. So they probably shouldn't have been in that position to begin with, but they were. Zach Ertz had an offensive pass interference. They had to settle for 3. When you take 30 minutes off of a football game, you're not going to win the majority of them. And sure, the defense was gassed towards the end. Rashad Penny with the big 62-yard touchdown run to kind of clinch it. But you tell me that team came out ready to play in the first half, and I will disagree with you.
Let's talk about a couple players here, a couple key players for the Arizona Cardinals. On the offensive side of the football, your franchise left tackle, DJ Humphries, had an atrocious game, just awful. And then on the defensive side of the football, Budda Baker was terrible in this game. You talk about the Rashad Penny big touchdown run. I've never seen Budda Baker whiff on a tackle like he did against Rashad Penny. It was not there for the Arizona Cardinals, despite things going. The case was, and if you were going through this glass case of emotion, the Arizona Cardinals come out in the second half and they tie this game at 17-17. The 49ers, on the other side of things, you needed the 49ers to take care of business on their side. It did not look good early on. They were down 17-0. They tied the game 17-17. And then they pick off Matthew Stafford. The Arizona Cardinals, Jalen Thompson, a great play on Russell Wilson on 3rd and 1, picks off Russell Wilson. And just next thing you know, the Arizona Cardinals NFC West chances, you're cooking with gas. What the hell happened after that? I think that's what the Arizona Cardinals need to figure out, because if you can't, you're going to be one and done in the playoffs. You're taking on a team that they handled you the last time on Monday Night Football. The Arizona Cardinals, when you look at the playoff scenarios and where you started at the beginning of the day and where you are right now, I think that this is the worst of all realities. Kyler Murray hasn't lost the game at the Jerry Dome in Dallas. I think that the Cowboys were probably a decent matchup for them. I don't like the matchup against the Rams, despite what happened in week 4 of the season, regular season.
Yeah, agreed. This is all, the Cardinals did this to themselves. You lose to the Lions on the road. You lose to the Chiefs, the Colts in a game where they're playing their second stringers. We're having people on Twitter legitimately comment that, no, you know what? It's better that the teams the Cardinals play are at full strength because they've played so badly against backups this year. That's the silly season that we're in now. Still trying to say, you know what? They made the playoffs. That's good enough. You want to know what I was talking about at halftime? When you were coming back at me about happy to be here, the Cardinals have cruised through the last 7 games of the season, it seems. After starting 7-0, they finished 4-6. There are no way a top 3 team in the NFC like they were during the first quarter of the season. You got to figure things out. And sure, there are injuries. The secondary's decimated. The secondary was not great going into the season. And what we know about the Cardinals is if things go perfectly, like they did against Dallas, everything to plan, they can win games. If there's any sort of adversity, they ain't winning games. And that's kind of what's been going on throughout the course of the year. I mean, I don't think that's unfair.
And I think that as far as the last 4 or 5 games have gone, the red zone offense, and they've done that mostly without James Conner, obviously without DeAndre Hopkins. He was lost basically for the season in the Rams game on Monday night. The offense without your top target as far as receivers go and DeAndre Hopkins, and then also without the money in the bank as far as being able to run the ball between the tackles with James Conner, that just makes you you don't have a lot of options in the red zone. There's Kyler's legs, which opposing defenses seem to have a pretty good answer to. And then as far as catching the football, Zach Ertz doesn't seem to be on the same page with Kyler Murray. We saw that on 2 missed pass attempts at the end of the game. One, I think, Kyler missed Ertz completely before, Ertz gets called on the offensive PI the previous play. And then AJ Green, I don't know what to say about AJ Green. I mean, there's positives from AJ Green, but there's a lot of negatives from AJ Green. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know where the disconnect is with AJ Green. Like, he makes plays and then he just makes boneheaded plays for a guy that he's been around the block several times. He's a veteran in this league.
Yeah. The normally sure-handed AJ Green did not look great today. That's for sure. Christian Kirk, non-existent again when you needed him. Completely
2 catches, 43 yards. Yeah,
and one of them was it must have been around 30 yards on one catch.
Yards, yeah,
correct. Yeah. So completely, you talk about wanting to pay people. He's had all of the chances to come in and be a wide receiver too. He's had all of the chances, and he has never lived up to that when they absolutely needed him to. Okay, so what we're seeing now is what the future of this roster is going to look like. And I know we're not getting there. We have plenty of the offseason to talk about. The Cardinals needed to win a game against a team that had nothing to play for. Legitimately nothing to play for, except for the New York Jets draft stock. The Jets are pissed because they're going to drop down 2 or 3 spots, I would assume, with another win by the Seahawks. And the 49ers, they played like they had everything to lose because they did. The Cardinals, since their bye week, have been playing like they're going to clinch a playoff spot and be cool with that. And that's what we've watched. I don't know if it's from the top. I don't know if it's the players. I don't know if it's Cliff Kingsbury. What I do know is this team, after knowing they were going to clinch a playoff spot at some point, they couldn't even clinch it on their own. Sean McVay had to clinch it for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was Sean McVay, and then you had, it's unbelievable what happened with what's going on right now with this team. You see that I've talked about this, their lack of resiliency, with their lack of the ability when things don't go perfect. This team doesn't show up. They can't scratch. They can't claw. You hope with J.J. Watt, the potential of him getting back, that this team is going to show some sort of fight. Like they can come out and they can handle a game. They can take over a game if it goes their game plan 100% according to plan. But when it doesn't, NFL team, like this league is just based on adjustments. It's based on teams and their ability to adjust. And when the defense is showing this and how you counteract that, you play that game of chess. We're not seeing that, not just from the coaching staff, but from the players. The players have to take some accountability in this. Well, there's too many missed tackles, there's missed opportunities, and lack of execution on both sides of the football. The Arizona Cardinals lost in all 3 phases. Like this game, the Arizona Cardinals could have won, and the next thing you know, they make a bad, horrible play on special teams, something we haven't seen in the last couple of weeks. They fumble the ball around and put the Seahawks in 1st and goal because of Andy Lee can't get the punt off on time. They lost in all 3 phases to a team that won seven games all 2021
without their best defensive player, without their 2 best defensive players. No. So listen, we can talk about how exciting it is that they're going to make the playoffs, which it is, but that now is not the time for this. You think that you look up the definition of backing into the playoffs, That's exactly what the Cardinals did. They had a great win in Dallas, okay? I thought it would kind of tip the scales. When they saw, I don't understand how you can't come out in a game like this and not sure. I don't understand how you can just mail it in after the strip sack for a touchdown. They just mailed it in for the rest of the first half. I just don't. Where that, and you wonder why I talk about Cliff Kingsbury, a head coach that had the control of his organization would not have a team come out like that. That's my gripe. Okay, it's not win-loss. It's Kyler's progression and really them just not getting it with how important that first half of football was. And I don't think that's unfair.
It's not unfair. It's not. I thought that what the team did for 8 minutes, they played well. They played inspired football. But we've seen that you can't win in the NFL when you play, 45 minutes or around 45 minutes in an NFL game. You can't make costly mistakes like they did. I mean, this was a team that came out. I mean, it couldn't have started better for them to get a touchdown on the third play on a strip sack of Russell Wilson where Zach Allen's able to put it in the end zone. I mean, all the momentum's going your way, and then you just completely – I don't know if they just put it on cruise control or what it was, but when this team isn't – I mean, and that's something they need to know about themselves, and they haven't learned it yet. It's going to be an awful learning experience that – if they are not 100% focused, they lose. They lose. It doesn't matter if it's the top team in the NFL. It doesn't matter if they're playing, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers or if they're playing the Detroit Lions. Like, they get their ass beat if they don't come out and they're not 100% focused and firing on all cylinders. So, we'll see. I see you guys in the chat as far as J.J. Watt and what kind of a boost he can give. But still, I mean, that might help with the rush defense a little bit. It might help get the opposing quarterback off the spot. But, it doesn't matter if you're going to still make mistakes and put the opposing offense in very, solid position to start drives. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals are hurting, and it's not just one phase of football. It's all three coming off of today.
Yeah, and the weirdest thing about today is because normally, like, one box you can check is if you command the time of possession, that's usually a good sign that you're going to win football games. They were on the field for 35 minutes, and this is the offense not being able to convert.
Red zone. Yeah, it's the red zone.
Yeah, I mean, you can't kick field goals in the red zone. Yeah. It's another, and this was not on Cliff. There's not anybody that Zach Ertz push off gets them back, but behind the sticks. But I mean, it's not just the Rashad Penny breakout touchdown.
No,
that's not what it is. That's a flashball memory in the fourth quarter that was the final nail in the coffin, as it were. But not showing up for 30 minutes of football is why the Cardinals lost this game.
I mean, they're down 4 before the Penny touchdown. I mean, they're still chasing the Seahawks, and they still need to make a lot of plays on defense, even if they stop Rashad Penny on that. I mean, that was it. That was the final gut punch of the game. That was the exclamation point for the Seahawks team. But man, the Arizona Cardinals, just a brutal loss. It's like you had to start the game. And to start the second half, you couldn't have had a better momentum swinging play. The strip sack, and then of course, the back-to-back touchdowns that was aided by your defense making plays. But then your offense was what really kind of stalled things out for you in both halves, and that's not gonna fly in the postseason. So the Cardinals, they have a lot to figure out, and they're going to have to do it on the fly going forward. They're going to take on a very familiar opponent in the postseason. They're taking on Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. The one thing I will say right here before, and I won't save it for our podcast, Matthew Stafford's not playing great football.
No, and he was hobbled today. Like, listen, all of this stuff, and we believe this is all exactly what just happened. We're crunching everything that just happened. This is our snap knee-jerk reaction to what we watched. If the Cardinals can win whenever they play Saturday or Sunday, I'm assuming that they're not going to play a primetime game anymore because they're not playing Dallas. That if the Cardinals can go on the road and beat the Rams, we're having a completely different conversation. If the Cardinals lose 30-13 against the Rams, this is not going to be a fun offseason.
No, it's not. Because a lot of the questions that you felt you had answered, they come back. They come back. You, as far as the head coach is concerned, as far as your quarterback he's going to be eligible for a huge extension. There's going to be a lot of tough conversations, and there's not going to be like just no doubt about it, no questions ask definitive answers as far as this team's concerned. So yeah, you are going to have to, like, in order to hold that off. Like, I don't think that there's a loss that exists in round one of the playoffs in the Super Wild Card weekend that keeps this team from having those questions going in the offseason. Just kind of how things have fallen apart for this Arizona Cardinals team. We are going to turn these mics off. We're going to turn these cameras off, and we're going to immediately fire them back up for our podcast, which is going to drop on Monday, midnight in the desert. If you want to hear our full recap, it's close to 25-30 minutes of our full recap of this Arizona Cardinals loss to the Seattle Seahawks 38-30 at home with a chance at the NFC West. You can't put any lipstick on this pig. They blew the chance at the NFC West. The Niners did exactly what they needed to. The Niners rebounded from being down 17-0, came back and beat the Rams in LA. And just a brutal. Gotta leave just the worst taste in your mouth if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, and you go from trying to face the Dallas Cowboys, a team that you just beat, to a team that just beat you the last time you played in the postseason in the Los Angeles Rams. Any parting words before we get to the podcast?
Good luck defending Cooper Kupp, man.
Yeah,
you thought that Seattle's tough. Cooper Kupp has having the best season we've seen since Calvin Johnson years ago. Okay, so this is going to be a brutal week. But no, I mean, what else is there to say? Seriously, what else is there to say? Anybody that had any questions, anybody that's still trying to sugarcoat this, watch the damn game and think for yourself and not just find rainbows and butterflies in every situation.
It's Bo Brock. It's Alex Clancy. There's no rainbows, no butterflies on this podcast. Make sure you check out Monday's episode of Locked On Cardinals. It's going to debut at midnight wherever you find podcasts, and it's going to debut on YouTube at 10 a.m. Can't wait for it. But until then, this is going to be your episode that exists in both those realms. We will talk to you soon. Follow Alex on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. And, of course, follow me at Bob Brack and follow the show at Locked On AZ Cards. Thanks for making us your first listen. We'll talk to you soon.